Okay, so in this video, I've been knitting my next, so I did basket weave for my first part of my scarf, and then I wanted to tackle fisherman's rib, which is very, very similar to brioche knitting. Um, it's this fisherman's, I find fisherman's rib easier to knit instead of the brioche knit, because brioche, the instructions that you see, they say to it's very similar to this, but it's this kind of like wrap the yarn around and then no wait, you purl first, then you wrap the yarn around the needle. Oh, see, I can't even remember. It's too weird. So um I wanted to show you how I did it. So um most of the instructions will tell you either, some of them will say cast on an even number of stitches or cast on an uneven number of stitches or whatever. And so what I did was I cast on in a way that I would have the nice edge, and this is not exactly perfect little V's. You can see they kind of like waffle a little bit, but at least it's a nice smoother edge instead of bumpy things. So I don't know if you can see that edge. See, it's sort of little V's, but not quite. Um, so I always made sure that the first stitch, the stitch on this edge before I start knitting, I slip that one, do all the stitches, and make sure I end with a purl, or I end with a knit, so that it will always start with a purl. So you can see I'm starting with a purl, and I'm gonna slip that, then bring the yarn back, and what you're gonna do is you're knitting in the little hole underneath that stitch. You're not knitting in the stitch, you're knitting in the hole beneath that stitch. So you could see like a long line of stitches. See how they all have holes? So you just stick it in the hole and knit it off like a regular knit stitch. And then you purl the next stitch, put the yarn in the back, and again knit into that hole, wrap the yarn around, and then just pull it out just like you would a regular stitch. But you're pulling a lot of this stuff along with that stitch. So these stitches, these V's, are very pronounced. They make a very big ditch on either side and make very big holes in the stitch. So that's why it looks like a very different rib from your ordinary rib. But it's a very easy stitch. This is all you do on both sides, is you purl, knit into that stitch below, purl, knit into that stitch below, purl. And then the last stitch, I just do a regular knit, because if you try to slip a knit into the below stitch, it makes a huge mess. So just don't even bother. So the last stitch is always going to be a regular knit, and when you turn it over, it'll be a regular purl, and you just slip that purl stitch. And then you start again. Go into the stitch below, knit all that junk off, purl, knit into the stitch below, all the way across. So whatever number of stitches you put on, make sure you slip the first stitch and knit the last stitch, and everything else in between, and well, and you have to end with a purl. So so it's an even number. I cast on 10 stitches, and the 2 stitches, you're slipping the first one and just knitting the last one. So that's 8 stitches in between. So that's an even number of stitches. So um I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it just works. And it makes this very stretchy, very squishy fabric. And it's a yarn hog. So if you're going to do this, just know you're going to use up a lot more yarn than you would doing, just regular stockinette or even garter stitch, which is usually a big yarn hog too. But just know that going in. So if you're going to do, if you're going to do this in the round, just make sure well, you don't have to do the slipping part because, the slipping part is just for doing it flat. But if you're going to do in the round, make sure you start with the knit and end with the purl so that it will go around evenly. But it makes a great cowl. It's very squishy, very soft, very poofy. It'll make a not very nice yarn into something sweet and lovely. So that's my little plug for Fisherman's Rib over brioche. And I'm going to see if I can do 2 colors. Because the other advantage of brioche is you can do 2 colors. But I don't see why you can't do 2 colors of Fisherman's Ribs. I don't know. That'll be my next thing to try. Okay.